Hello students, welcome to the another session of neonatology MCQ discussion. The first questions we are having on the neonatal jaundice. Now the first question says, a full-term infant was born 12 hours ago. His mother is blood group O positive and membranes ruptured 2 days before delivery. He is breastfeeding well and child appears jaundiced. Which investigation should be done first? Right? Now that is the point. Now you might think what is being given is there is history of rupture of membrane for more than 48 hours. And this can point out to be a potential risk for neonatal sepsis. But the thing given here is he is breastfeeding well. So if it is breastfeeding well, initial investigation as a blood culture, that is ruled out. That is ruled out. Right. Then the second thing is mother is O blood group. So there can be a cause of jaundice because any jaundice on day 1 of life is pathological. That is pathological. Right. And in the day 1 of life, that is pathological, and the cause can be Rh incompatibility or cause can be ABO incompatibility. The cause can be ABO incompatibility. So either Rh incompatibility or either ABO incompatibility, right? For this I need the blood group. But even I come to know that it is a ABO incompatibility, that will not basically change my management. So initial investigation as a blood group, not correct. Direct Coombs test only if there is a ABO or Rh incompatibility, also that will be not the initial investigation. So what my initial investigation should be? That should be the bilirubin level, because the amount of bilirubin will determine what the course of action I am going to take. So if you say which investigation should be done first, the word is the first, the right answer here goes in favor of the bilirubin level. This is the right answer which goes in favor of the bilirubin level. Question number 2. Child had neonatal jaundice and was started on phototherapy. The main mechanism which reduces the bilirubin level is conversion to lumirubin. The basis of this conversion is whenever a child is started on phototherapy, the bilirubin level decreases due to 3 mechanisms. One is photoisomerization, one is structural isomerization, one is photooxidation. In photoisomerization, basically Z forms are changed to E forms. Z forms are changed to E forms. In structural isomerization, bilirubin changes to lumirubin. Lumirubin. And it is the unconjugated bilirubin which changes to lumirubin, and lumirubin is something which is water soluble. And it is the most common mechanism which decreases the bilirubin level. Most common mechanism which decreases the bilirubin level is the structural isomerization. So the right answer to this question is the structural isomerization. This photooxidation, it is a minor pathway. The photooxidation is a minor pathway, right? So the right answer to this question here is the structural isomerization, right? Going on to the next question, question number 3. 2-week-old child born at 40 weeks of gestation came with history of yellowing of skin and passage of pigmented stool. On examination, total bilirubin is 6 and conjugated bilirubin is 2. The child appears well. Investigation required to rule out the cause is. Now just seeing at this question, what you compare is there is increase in the conjugated bilirubin. So it is a case of neonatal cholestasis. Right? And if you see particularly neonatal cholestasis, the first cause which comes to our mind is the very common extrahepatic biliary atresia, EHBA. But if EHBA has to be there has to be pale stool. Here it is given pigmented stool. right? So this is not a case of particularly EHBA. Try to understand, because we are always in a hurry. We do not read the points what is being given. This is a case of a pigmented stool, not the pale or clay colored stools. So that means they are not talking of EHBA, and as they are not talking of EHBA, ultrasound and liver biopsy, per operative cholangiogram, HIDA scan, that does not carry the significance. So what is being required to be done is the ultrasonography and gamma glutamyl transpeptidase. Gamma glutamyl transpeptidase. The word here given is child appears well. So all the infection causes are being ruled out. And why we require to do the ultrasonography and GGT? This is to rule out whether it is a case of progressive familial intrahepatic cholestasis. Progressive familial intrahepatic cholestasis. Right? The levels of GGT, they are normal or decreased in PFIC 1 and 2, and they are increased in progressive familial intrahepatic cholestasis 3. Right? So please read the words carefully before answering the question, and this is here that this is ultrasonography and gamma glutamyl transpeptidase that is required. Now we discuss is the question number 4. A 4-week-old infant has reported with complaints of the persistent jaundice. On examination, the unconjugated bilirubin is 9 gram per deciliter. The mother says the child is always breastfed and her baby has always been slightly yellow. On examination, the child is jaundiced, alert, afebrile and gaining the weight. Most appropriate management in the child is. Now, if you see here what is being given, there is increase in the unconjugated bilirubin and mother is giving exclusive breastfeeds to the child. Now, the common causes of increase in unconjugated bilirubin in a 4-week child can be either 1. Hypothyroidism. But in a hypothyroidism, the common complaint is child is not gaining weight. There is failure to thrive. And here we are saying is child is gaining the weight. So it most likely is a case of a breast milk jaundice. And in a breast milk jaundice, do we really stop the breastfeeds? We only stop the breastfeeds for 48 hours when there is a sharp decline in the bilirubin level and you make a diagnosis of breast milk jaundice. But is that really required here? If you see the bilirubin level, that is not alarming. So that is not actually required. So what you should say here, because you have to choose the answer from here only, you should reassure the mother and you should continue the breastfeeding. That is the right answer here. Why not perform the liver function test and ultrasound liver? They are mainly required if there is increase in conjugated bilirubin, but here there is increase in the unconjugated bilirubin. Right? Now the last question here, most useful investigation in the prediction of neurodevelopment outcome for a baby with moderate encephalopathy secondary to hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy is. Hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy is. You want to know how much damage has been caused to the brain by the hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, and you want to know the future course, and for this, out of this, if you choose, the best investigation is the MRI brain. That is the best. Clear? So for the long term, if you want to know the prognosis, that is the MRI. Bedside amplitude integrated EEG, that is the screening which you do for the neonatal seizures. Screening you do for the neonatal seizures. Cranial ultrasonography, we basically do to rule out the intraventricular hemorrhage. And neurological examination in a case of hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy fluctuates. It changes, and moreover it will tell you about the current position, not the future outcome. So if you want to know the future outcome, then the right answer here is the MRI brain. Right? So this was the discussion of all the questions in this series. Thanks.